I'm Andrew, the head of communications for Steemit, and this is episode 2 of the Steemit podcast series Decentralized Entrepreneurship and Marketing, featuring the company Oracle D, which is all about building organic blockchain communities. The goal of this series is to help entrepreneurs, marketers, and developers prepare for a future that is being rapidly disrupted by decentralized technologies. One of the most disruptive of these technologies is the Steem blockchain, which is the most advanced, high-performance blockchain for powering web applications, which is why it has the most used web apps and the largest community of any blockchain protocol in the world. In this discussion, the founders of Oracle D share the insights they've gained building multiple products in the blockchain space, from their Steem account creation service steem.ninja to their organic community building platform oracle-d.com. Matt Starkey, CEO of Oracle D, built his career in the oil and gas industry managing multi-billion-dollar projects. As an early cryptocurrency adopter, Matt turned his passion for blockchain technology into a company focused on funding decentralized humanitarian and community projects in a fully transparent way. Matt's co-founder and CTO is Dylan Layton, a polymath and radical thinker who meshes technology, psychology, philosophy, economics, and game theory in his work for Oracle D, where he aims to change the way humans interface with the blockchain and other emerging technologies forever. I really enjoyed talking to Matt and Dylan and found the interview so informative that I just couldn't bear to cut it down from its lengthy hour and 17-minute runtime. But if you're interested in blockchain entrepreneurship, I highly recommend listening to the interview in its entirety, as it's filled with priceless knowledge from arguably two of the earliest blockchain entrepreneurs. In the blockchain space, we have plenty of engineers who are launching protocols that they claim are going to revolutionize the world, but few, if any, succeed, and even those aren't real businesses. Matt and Dylan aren't building a new blockchain. They're building a business, one with multiple products and multiple paying customers. That's what this space really needs, and in this interview, they generously share many of the insights they've gained while bootstrapping a startup in this volatile industry. If you prefer listening to shorter excerpts, we will be releasing shorter clips on YouTube along with other video content we'll be putting out. So be sure to subscribe to Steemit's YouTube channel. And now this is my interview with Matt and Dylan from Oracle D.
I'm Matt. I'm the CEO of Oracle D, and we've got Dylan here as well, who's the CTO. He's the genius, and he likes to call me the boss. So I guess I'll hand over to Dylan first to add his point, because I think there's something on your mind there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we've learned, for me, it's probably not to come at growing the business with a very fixed mindset, because this whole ecosystem is evolving and it's growing, and we've had some. I mean, we probably get 20 brilliant ideas every week, and I think the biggest thing that we've had to learn is how to sift through those ideas and go, okay, which one of these things adds value? Which one of these things has got longevity? Which of our ideas for utilizing the blockchain sphere actually solves real problems?
I think you bring up an interesting point. This technology can be used to solve a lot of problems. And I think a lot of people are getting wrong is the timing. What it's ready to solve right now is really where people are getting things wrong, which is why I was sorry to interrupt you, Matt, but I think now might be a good time to explain what problems you guys are actually solving right now, what Oracle D does, what products and services it offers to consumers.
Yeah, so I just want to before I do that, I just want to come back to your point, because I think in terms of people off the Steem blockchain, understanding what this thing is in terms of for a business, for us, we have managed to do this without going out for external funding. And it's partly because we can mine cryptocurrency by creating a buzz and adding value to the community, and allowing and getting to know the right people in the community who can help us and support us as a business to then fund those things that we need to do, and with relatively small amounts of money as well, to then grow a kind of set of minimum viable products that work, and start growing those communities and serving different clients and bringing people in from outside of the blockchain. And that has been done with basically zero capital input practically, compared to the traditional world, because we have the ability on blockchains like Steem to create new currency and distribute that currency to people who are doing valuable actions. And so this is a fantastic new dimension to the world that we couldn't have before. And that, to me, it's really saved everything that we saved our bacon, really, through this drop, this whole kind of crypto winter, which has been really, really painful for a lot of people. It's certainly helped a lot of people on Steem survive, because they always know there's a little bit of new currency being generated, and they can then distribute that to get valuable things done. And of course, the more value you generate as a business and a community, the more you're going to be able to serve others, and then bring, as a result, grow more value in the future. In terms of what Oracle D does, there's kind of three main areas. One is that we are a content creation company. So the Steem blockchain has thousands and thousands of content creators. A lot of them are very, very, very talented people. And we're trying to bring clients into that arena and match them with content creators and allow them to kind of work together to get value out of that meeting. And then the great thing about Steem is that you have this thing called delegation, where you can delegate Steem, so you don't have to actually pay in money and lose that money. You can just delegate Steem to people, which costs you nothing to do. And the delegation actually gives you the ability to create that new money. It's all kind of, it's a bit in depth, but basically the basic principle is if you're a client and you hold a large amount of Steem, you can delegate that Steem to someone else to get them to do tasks, and it doesn't cost you anything because you're using the new money that's created. So we have an edge over other traditional businesses, because we can essentially provide things for free to an extent. The other couple of things that we do with Oracle D is we build other people's platforms. So if there's a client that comes to us with a great business model, but they haven't got the technical knowledge to bring themselves onto the blockchain and build the Steem blockchain into their business, we will take a look at what their model is, work out if it makes sense, if the community is good, do a background check on them, make sure they're all sound and everything. And then we'll proceed together with bringing them onto the Steem blockchain, introducing them to the community, and hopefully it's, often we'll build them a platform or work with their developers to help them tie into the Steem blockchain so that they can easily onboard to Steem. And then the other thing that we're doing many, many things, but the kind of other main thing that we're doing is the charitable side. We're kind of sick of seeing these charities that are they're non-transparent in the traditional world, and there's a lot of scandals that have happened over the recent past. And basically what blockchain technology does, particularly Steem, is it allows you to provide evidence and transparency to your charity distributions. So on Steem, the way it works is you have to produce a blog before you can distribute rewards, or you have to produce some kind of content or evidence. So it means that when we do our charitable distributions, we have documented, guaranteed evidence at the end of that shows everyone why the money was distributed there, how much money was distributed, where it came from, where it went to. And we're setting up multiple proof of concepts and minimum viable products on Steem. We're actually working with a Premiership footballer called Andre Gray from Watford Football Club. And he's got a whole community now where there's people learning football under his program, and it's the funding is being distributed to those people all over the world, many in developing countries. And he gets great PR for that, because he has loads of people all over YouTube now saying, "Oh, thanks very much, Andre, for the support. We're learning football." And they get to earn a little bit of money for playing football in terms of the new cryptocurrency. And then they use that to buy football boots and balls and equipment and things like that. So those are the kind of three main areas that we're into. It's content creation. It's building people's platforms and onboarding them to Steem in terms of businesses, and charitable distribution of funds in a transparent way. And those things are what Steem is great at doing, as aside from multiple other things in terms of gaming that other people are working on and many other different communities. But those things are the real positive benefits of using blockchain technology to distribute this currency for valuable actions. And so we're focusing on that.
You mentioned the ability to create tokens. You're referring to the rewards pool that exists, and basically by holding Steem tokens in Steem Power, that gives you the effective ability to, what it's really giving you is a percentage of new tokens that are being automatically created. Mm-hmm. And that's a very useful feature to have in a blockchain. What I wanted to add to that is that thanks to projects like Steem Engine, you now literally have the ability to create new tokens on Steem and distribute those tokens in 3 seconds with zero fees. And we don't necessarily need to go into that. I just think, it's an interesting supplement to that, where not only do you have this rewards pool feature, but you now have this ability to literally create your own money and dictate which enables you to dictate how that money gets distributed in a more controlled way, because you have limited control over the rewards pool, but over these tokens, you have total control.
Yes.
If I make one of the things that could be a little bit confusing as well for people, and I think it's worth pointing out, particularly when we're talking about creating our own tokens. So we've been involved in creating tokens, and the idea for us is they effectively are utility tokens for a specific purpose. They're not designed as securities or anything like that. But instead of thinking about it in terms of just money, one of the things that we like to talk to a lot of businesses about is potentially using those tokens for things like internal reward distribution. So, for example, if you run a company and you've got 10,000 employees all over the world, it's very hard for management and senior management to understand what's happening on the shop floor. Okay, but actually, it's on the shop floor where an awful lot of innovation could happen if only there was the potential for that to be recognized and rewarded and somehow go up the chain, so that management could say, hey, that Bill's had a really good idea, because he's the one that's actually interfacing with our customers on a day-to-day basis. Or there's Jeff, he's in the R&D department, and he's come up with a really cool, clever idea, but he's a junior and nobody's really paying any attention to him. So now we've got a situation where by having your own token, you can effectively decentralize the ability for your peers to recognize your work. So you could even use the tokens as a form of voting. So it could be, for example, each week you get a token to vote with for, it's just one example, for your colleagues. And you go, hey, Jeff over there has done phenomenal work this week. And, I really like some of his ideas. I'm going to give my token to him. And at the end of the year, perhaps that could even be used to, calculate bonus reward structures and things like this. So the idea of creating tokens is not just about money. And, I'm kind of keen to get people to understand that ultimately the way of having these decentralized communities that run on the Steem blockchain, there's no fees to be part of the Steem blockchain. It's a really clever and very transparent way of organizing without having to build a ton of tech yourself. You can simply plug and play. Ultimately, it's very, very simple to get started without having 30 people in an IT team putting this kind of thing together. And the costs of doing something like this and the running costs are virtually zero. And that is a bit of a game changer, because now it's giving us an opportunity to go into much more corporate environments and say, hey, we can integrate this very, very quickly for you. Does this sound like something that you kind of like to take a look at?
Okay, so you brought up a lot of great points, and part of it ties back into something Matt said about auditability. Well, he said transparency, and the thing
and it's both.
It's both. The transparency enables auditability, and what I think a lot of people outside of the space and too many people inside of the space fail to realize is that the core value proposition of blockchain isn't computation, it's auditability.
Yes.
Blockchain is extremely bad at computation, but it's extremely good for auditability. And what separates Steem is really its emphasis on auditability and not on computation. It's got a limited set of smart contracts hard-coded into it that foster growth, user adoption, and the building of web apps and the powering of web apps. And that guarantees that it will always be the easiest and lowest cost blockchain to integrate into your web app. And that's why it's been able to support the development of so many web apps that have quickly gained a lot of traction. Like you see Drug Wars launching, and 2 weeks later, it's the biggest app. It's the biggest blockchain powered app in the world. And I think you guys have leveraged those benefits extremely well, because what you do is you've become, one of your services is your blockchain application developers. And so you leverage your expertise with respect to Steem and Steem's unique value propositions with respect to powering web apps to launch blockchain powered applications that few people on earth could do, because they just don't know what they need to know.
Right. Absolutely. Well, one of the cool things here, Andraki, is that when you get your head around this idea of what a blockchain is and the way you can stake money and create new money from that money, and the more stake that you hold, the more new money you can create, and therefore you can build mechanisms to reward your community or your users for doing valuable actions for you, right? Once you get your head around that kind of principle, the ideas flow constantly. It's absolutely crazy. And the great thing is once you get your head around that principle, you can go to these blockchain events, and there's people there that don't quite understand what's going on. And all you need to do is to be able to explain this stuff in layman's terms, so people go, oh, right, I didn't realize these are the potential applications. And Dylan's great at this. You know, the amount of new ideas that we have with clients, just within 5 minutes of speaking to them, once we understand what their business model is, what their problems are, and how this model can be applied to that business or to that community. It's amazing, because there's so many things that can be done that we can't even think of. And once you get your head around it and you start meeting clients and understanding what their problems are, the solutions are endless. And so what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up to have just very basic things that you can implement very quickly in order for people to be able to build apps and dApps and bring their communities onto these blockchains and get them up and running relatively quickly, support them with new currency for a period of time to allow them to either fundraise or establish their community on the blockchain, and let them benefit from the aspects of decentralization. You know, this, either if you want transparency, if you want the ability to distribute currencies very easily, if you want the ability to reward your followers very easily with monetary value that is actually tradable in the market, if you want the ability to make records of things, if you want the ability to store information that is immutable, that can't be deleted, that even if one application decides not to display it, other applications may, and other people can open source access that information. These are all applications of the blockchain, and what we're trying to do is set ourselves up so we can serve people and bring them on in a very non-technical way, so that they understand how this stuff can benefit them and how they can easily onboard onto these blockchains and benefit from this new technology.
So one of the takeaways I get from that is that as entrepreneurs who are also early adopters of this technology, you're getting, by dealing with people who are interested in leveraging this technology, you're getting insights into, you're getting all their ideas. You're seeing what people really need, what entrepreneurs and companies and customers, what they really need, and you know what they can do. And so the earlier you're involved, the basically it's helping to build your moat, because not only do you have your own ideas and your own projects, but you're getting info from what customers and what companies need.
Yeah. I think the other important thing here is that, you know, I really want to stress, I did mention it before, is that you don't need to be an expert computer programmer to be
I'm not.
involved. Yeah, I can absolutely attest to this. The number of times I have to explain things to Matt as to why you can or can't do a particular thing is unbelievable. But, you know, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a dev team to be able to leverage this stuff. Human beings actually perform best when they're in a culture where there is both competition and collaboration that are fostered at the same time. And so from the point of view of Steem, where you've got competition, what you've got is people competing to earn a share of the rewards pool. But what works, and it really is a case of what works best, is when people collaborate together to do really amazing new things. And, you know, one of the things about the Steem community is it doesn't take you very long if you've been adding some value here, to become pretty well known and to suddenly start to have a really big community around you of people that can help you to solve the sort of problems that you want to solve. And it might be that, you've got a specific skill set, whether it be, you're an expert video maker. And I brought one of my friends, a personal friend, onto the blockchain about, 8 or 9 months ago. And he'd never even heard of blockchain before that. Well, he's now pretty much regarded as one of the go-to people if you want massively high-level videos creating.
That is really, really a great point, because the amount of talent that's on the Steem blockchain is incredible. It's not just content creators who can do videos. There's people who can do graphics. There's people who can do 3D animations. There's people who are into VR and virtual reality and setting those models up, building the infrastructure out for those models. We've just bought a VR company, an augmented reality company, onto the blockchain, who are doing their own ICO and want to leverage the Steem community to add content to their virtual reality world. And they have a business model around that to bring new money into the Steem blockchain via tokenized land portions inside of their world. So it's very, very interesting. And then not only that, but you have the developers. There's a lot of developers on the Steem blockchain, very, very knowledgeable people, very helpful people. And of course, if they end up liking what your project's doing, then you'll end up finding partnerships and synergies with them, and end up working with those very talented people to get your ideas built. And so there's all these different resources on the Steem blockchain. Of course, people like Andraki here, who have kind of started off as content creators and ended up as quite an influential person on the platform in terms of shaping and changing the culture on the platform. So there's also these kind of philosophical people who kind of change and shape the way things are looking and moving forwards on the blockchain. And so there's this whole group of different people. And I actually want to say, one of the things that's really, really surprised me about the Steem blockchain is, through this crypto winter, it's still got by far the biggest blockchain community of people. It's stayed at around 20,000 active users, and that will easily go up to 60 or 80,000 as the prices start to go back up very, very quickly. And as a result, I see the Steem blockchain as the world's biggest startup. I see all of these people on the blockchain who are potential value creators, and that value can be leveraged to serve clients to bring new money into the blockchain. And so I look at it as though we've got all this talent, and the question is, how can we build mechanisms, platforms, and relationships that leverage those people and their talents to provide the value that's sitting dormant within the Steem blockchain? And slowly but surely, you see all these different apps now that are starting to bring that talent out and bring the traffic out of the Steem blockchain and really exploit it, as opposed to it just being purely content creation. So there's a massive potential here, and for us, it gets so many of our problems solved. I can't even begin to tell you how useful that's been, especially through this crypto winter. So.
Well, you touched on a lot of interesting ideas for applications. I want to highlight the fact that while there's lots of individual use cases, there's lots of apps that are being built that tap into certain features of the Steem blockchain. What we've learned with the release of lots of the new apps like Drug Wars is that there's just no limit on the type, like any application you can think of can leverage Steem. We now see the flexibility of the Steem blockchain. Dylan, you talked about some of the low costs. You mentioned that running these apps is very low cost. And now I happen to know that for technical reasons, the Steem blockchain has significant competitive advantages with respect to running at very low cost. But I was hoping that you might elaborate for any potential entrepreneurs listening to this, considering launching a blockchain-powered application or a web app that might leverage blockchain in some capacity, why it is that Steem enables you to power that application at very low cost.
Okay, I mean, there's a few different things that you can think about. So obviously, the first thing about Steem is that there are, unlike just about every other blockchain, there are no gas fees. Okay, so that's an immediate thing. So you can transact on the Steem blockchain You can send money anywhere in the world. You can send it in 3 seconds. You don't have to wait for 6, 8, 20, 100 verifications. The verifications are all done in 3 seconds, and that cost is free. It will not cost you anything ever. So purely from being able to move funds from one place to another perspective, it's extremely cheap. Secondly, already built into the ecosystem are a number of applications. For example, we've got obviously the great Steemit condenser front end. We've got things like Hive Mind. All of these things allow you to leverage the blockchain in a way that you don't have to develop any technology yourself. You just have to tap into it. So in many cases, it's just a case of maybe running a script. It's very, very simple. Any developer with even half a bit of ability can do that kind of thing. So suddenly your build costs come right down. You've got the ability to really leverage the community as well. And that the fact that you've got this rewards pool allows us to have a situation where we can mobilize people very, very, very quickly. So part of what Oracle D is very good at is getting stuff done. We have a very, very big community. People have kind of flocked around us because they've seen that, what we're really keen to do is to add value to the Steem token and add utility to Steem. Lots of them have got great ideas, but more importantly, some of them just want to get stuck in and be part of a movement. Now, we've been able to leverage that, and we've been able to do things like, get things to move on Twitter very, very quickly by simply saying to our community, hey, go and have a look at this, comment on it, please let us know what you think. And then suddenly there's a huge slew of people there. Well, that kind of thing, if you were to start doing that in the real world, can be very time consuming, very expensive, and very laborious. But what we've also got as well is we have people coming to us saying, hey, have you thought about this? I don't have the skills to do it, but maybe you guys do. And there's a lot of collaborations that go on. Now,
and the great thing here is, Dil, sorry to just interrupt, the great thing here to make the point is that every action that you've just discussed has a reward behind it.
That's right.
So if anyone does anything on Twitter, or if anyone comes with an idea and we collaborate together, there are rewards distributed to the community based on our stake on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. So everyone gets rewarded. There's an incentive to interact in this way. And that's one of the new things that comes from this,
The distinction between front-end development and back-end development and the benefit of leveraging open source tools. So when you were talking about Condenser and being able to take these pre-existing software and adapt it to use cases, that's something people don't really understand who come from the centralized world, who come from the old economy where everything is so tightly guarded. In the Steem ecosystem, because we're all bound together through our stake, there's an incentive to release a lot of software openly. And so that is part of what lowers the cost of development that you guys were talking about. Then there's the back-end development. And what I got from what you said ties back into the auditability of Steem and Steem's emphasis on supporting applications that are looking to leverage auditability and transparency, which is what keeps the cost of running Steem very low, which then gets transferred on to the developers and the users. Because what all of this means is that you can power an app from your own servers while offering to your users and any customers that you might have the ability to audit the information to see if you're actually doing what you're saying you're doing, if you're following the rules as specified on the blockchain. But at the same time, you're getting all the benefits of running the application through your centralized servers. You're getting the speed of using all of the old technologies that have been built to make that a very efficient process. And so that's where the back end cost reductions come from, is that we're the only ones who've been focusing relentlessly for years on upgrading a protocol that is optimized around auditability, not computation. This is something very few people don't understand. They come to blockchain, they start looking at Ethereum, at EOS, they start thinking about how they can build smart contracts, and they wind up getting sucked into this idea that it's a good idea to have their entire stack run on the world's least efficient computer. And it will always be essentially the world's least efficient computer. Steem isn't a computer. It's a decentralized open ledger that enables consumers, users, anyone who's interested, including developers, to audit the code that is powering applications. And I think that's a really important distinction for people who are coming to the space, who are evaluating the different blockchains.
And not only that, Andrew, not only that, the beauty of it additionally to that is that you can now reward your community that use your apps with a token that already has a market. So you don't have to worry about that side of it either, right? You can just focus on building your community, rewarding it, and creating your app and running it as efficiently as possible in its traditional way as any other apps run basically on the internet, apart from as a tie-in with the Steem blockchain. All the rest of it is done for you by the community, basically. The database side of it, the ledger side of it, the operation side of it, the distribution of the coin, the consensus layer, it's all done for you on the Steem blockchain. And so as a result, you can really focus on building these apps. And that's why, for example, some of these games have done really, really amazingly here, because they've just smashed the game and really focused on building a great game. The actual tie-in side to the Steem blockchain and the reward process there is basically all done for you. And it's very, very minimal amounts of work and learning that you have to do. And if you can't do it yourself, you can easily find someone on the Steem blockchain that can do it for you. And all of a sudden now your community has this new currency that has a market that even you don't even have to worry about creating that market for yourself anymore, because it's already there, it's already in place, and the community is there around it, you know. So it's fantastic, you know, and it's a whole new dimension on building communities and apps out in this.
Yeah. And I think the other thing there to mention, you just touched on it, is you don't need to do this yourself. Because of the ability for you to delegate the power of your stake, it provides you with a really safe environment with which to have somebody else manage this for you. And because of all the things that you said with transparency and auditability, it obviously means that you can see at any point in time, and the community as a whole can see, if anything is being done which isn't in line with your values and your articles for being. So that's allowed us to, for us to actually do things like, you know, put sports personalities on the blockchain. They're not the ones sitting there by their computers tapping away, reading the blogs, looking at the content. They can have that managed by someone else, but always retain control of their stake. So they never have to trust anybody else. And effectively, it's that property that makes the Steem blockchain, in many ways, trustless in being able to operate businesses at this kind of level, and very, very quick. And again, that's all for free. You don't have to pay for that.
The key takeaway for me in there is that as you're using, first of all, because there's so many pre-existing tools, you can begin using it instantly.
Right.
Even if you're an entrepreneur, you have a business and you just want to start posting through steemit.com and you want to start getting attention for your enterprise through the platform, you can do that today. You can get an account for free. You can begin using it for free, or you can buy an account through Steem.ninja, which happens to be one of the other projects being worked on by Oracle D. You can tap into all these pre-existing tools, begin using the blockchain for your business now, and then as you're exploring it, as you're touching it, as you're learning about it, you can learn about what you need. From there, there's probably going to be other tools you can already use, like to go back to Steem.ninja, say you wanted to integrate Steem account creation into your app, or you wanted to integrate Steem into your pre-existing web application. You can integrate Steam Connect, which enables people to log into your app through Steam, and then you can tie in Steem Ninja, and now your users can create accounts through your application, and they even have a referral reward. So by integrating this stuff, you can actually help your bottom line in no time. And then if you eventually get to the point where you decide, oh, I want my own unique token for the reasons that you guys mentioned, I think that I like to say that the real untapped potential is in worthless tokens that have no price. That doesn't mean they don't have utility, because like you guys pointed out, it gives you all this information with respect to how people are using your application. And that's really the hidden secret sauce, I think.
Could I just touch on Steem Ninja a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like what you were saying there. We built it out in such a way that other people can benefit from it. So, as an app, you're going to struggle to onboard people, especially if you don't have the resource credits or if you don't have the tech built yourself. So it's already there. You just have to download a link and it's on your application, and it allows you to use our resource credits to onboard new people. It also allows, for example, we did an event a couple of days ago with a team who's an amazing team also on Steem blockchain called Deluxe. And they're really great at VR development and augmented reality development. And what they did is they built an app for an event, right? So at the event, obviously, you've got to mass on board 200, 400, 600 people in order to use your Steem app and benefit from the capability of the Steem blockchain on your app at your event. So we work with them, with Steem Ninja, to allow them to onboard en masse a lot of people, so that on their event, it was a couple of clicks of a button and they're on the app. And now they can go around the event and use the app, and it integrates with the Steem blockchain, so that those people can all get rewarded for using the app at the event, right? So it's this type of thing that Steem Ninja, we're trying to provide those tools for other people to use across the community, so that they can benefit as well. And that, of course, there's every time you onboard a new person, there's a small incentive paid towards your account.
I'd go so far as saying, by the way, that I think Steem Ninja, I haven't seen any better yet, is actually the quickest way for a complete newbie to be on a blockchain on the planet. I haven't really seen a quicker way of getting on board yet.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that it's fair to say that these types of capabilities that we're talking about, it might sound extreme to somebody listening to this, but these are not capabilities you can get on any other blockchain by a long shot.
Right.
And Steem wouldn't be able to do that without great app developers like you guys developing these great tools. And like you said, I do believe that about Steem Ninja, that it is the fastest way for anyone to get on to a blockchain, and specifically the Steem blockchain. So while there are other developers, obviously the skill, the focus, whatever, sets you guys apart and has enabled you, to add this functionality to the Steem blockchain ecosystem.
The idea for us is that we also want other people to be able to easily integrate it, so that if you are a developer on the Steem blockchain and you're a new business coming on and you want to be able to onboard people quickly, you can within a couple of clicks of a button, you can integrate this into the front of your app, right? You don't have to go and build all of the tech. You don't have to go and find all of the resources you need to create all of these accounts. It's already there and ready for you to run. You just click a couple of buttons and it's integrated. So again, it helps. The idea is things that Oracle D and a lot of the other people on the Steem blockchain are doing. We're trying to build apps and build features that benefit everyone, so that new people can come in and just hit the floor running kind of thing.
And importantly, benefit the world, people who aren't yet Steemians. The whole idea is that this technology can add tremendous value to everybody's life, and we want to get them involved as quickly as possible, because every day that they're not part of the Steem community, the Steem ecosystem, is a day that they're losing out on potential profits, potential revenue, potential new users. That's all right there, and all they have to do is sign in.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean,
and especially now where we've been going through the crypto winter, and the prices are lower than they have been across the board in the blockchain world. This is the time for new businesses to be coming into the blockchain. because, really the outlook is heading north. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow, or even next week, but that's really the outlook, I think, for this, particularly as what's happening is that the developers who have managed to survive through this period are realizing that this is the critical time. A couple of years ago, everybody was ICO crazy, right? People were raising, funds for ICOs. They were raising ridiculous amounts of money. And, really when you look at where some of those projects are, some of them aren't really much further forward than they were when they raised 20, 30, $40 million. And it kind of makes you think. And it
Most are dead.
Yeah, many are dead. Yeah, it's quite reminiscent of what happened in 2000 with the dot-com bust. And I was there in the world, in that industry at that time, and just watching huge companies that had raised massive capital just go to the wall. But what happened in the next few years is the developers got it together. They started building the tools that are everyday applications now. My little girl can't imagine a world, without all of these applications in it. But of course, when you get to a certain age, of course you can remember that. I certainly remember before there was email. Yeah, and we think of email as pretty old and stale now. People aren't communicating that way. So the world has moved extremely quickly, and it doesn't exist in a vacuum. This is the time for the businesses to be getting onboarded right now and starting to benefit from this technology.
Yeah. The biggest businesses in the world were created during depressions, because if you can survive in that environment, obviously when the economy turns, you're extremely well positioned. I mean, Tesla Motors survived those the 2008 crash, right? And it was built to survive that, and now it's so much bigger and so much more successful than it ever was. And of course, people don't think about this, but the businesses that are started during bubbles, more capital is lost due to businesses that are started during bubbles than businesses started during depressions. It's like literally a truism. And
one of the things that interests me here, Andraki, I like to get a feel for, and I feel like we're making a difference every day, is this last bubble has been purely speculative with the cryptocurrencies, right? And the price is at rock bottoms at the moment, and it's really struggling, and everyone's saying how cryptocurrency is finished and all this type of stuff. And there's little businesses like ours chugging away, ticking away, and many, many others, especially on the Steem blockchain. I think you probably won't find a place with more little dApps being developed as time goes on in this period of difficulty. And what's going to happen is this next move higher with the cryptocurrencies, it will be far less speculative, and it will be driven by blockchains like Steem, who are creating apps, dApps, experiences, products, services, and opportunities to influence others. These apps are creating these opportunities, and as a result, people will be wanting to pay for those items. And then all of a sudden, we're going to start creating this organic demand for these tokens. So instead of it being a speculative bubble, the next rise in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and things like Steem will be due to people actually wanting to hold the tokens in order to access these various things that are being executed on these blockchains. And so as a result, you'll have an intrinsic value to these tokens instead of a purely speculative value. So you'll find a more stable price, I think, in the future. You'll find much higher prices because there is a constant requirement and demand for the tokens. And then you'll also have speculation to an nth degree higher, because that in itself will bring speculation back into the industry. So it's very, very positive for me at the moment, in my opinion, and I think the future is very, very bright for these types of things.
That's a great point. The next speculative bubble, which will happen, will also be fueled by real use cases.
Right. I said it far more eloquently than I could say.
No, I couldn't have come up with it if I hadn't heard what you just said, which I think is an amazing point that I want to drive home. And I also want to emphasize that we kind of know what we're talking about here. We've been around.
Being seen. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've known what was happening. There's a reason why you have a successful company now, and it's not because you started building it last week. You started building it years ago when we were on this blockchain. We all knew how this was going to go, and we all knew the ups and downs that we were going to face. And you'll never, and you can going back to time back in auditability, you can go back and look at our accounts on the Steem blockchain and see how long we've been at it. And you can test our logic and you can test our forecast as to how things would go. But I mean, the proof that you have a successful business that's operating, that's serving customers now, is proof that at least some of your forecasts were right, because the decisions that you made a year ago, 2 years ago, I mean, we've been friends now for 2-3 years.
A year and a half was our first video that we did together.
Oh, just a year and a half? Well,
a lot's happened, man. A lot's happened.
Yeah, Steemit. So I just wanted to drive home. We're not pulling these ideas out of our butts. Like, we've seen this stuff come and go. We've seen the people come when the prices are high and go, it's too late. I can't get involved now. It's too expensive. You guys are lucky. You guys are lucky you were here when the price is low.
Well, I like to think of it as clever.
Of course, you and me both, and you know, it's fine. That's the way it is. There's a reason why there are rewards to people who stick around through the tough times, and that's why so many of these other projects are dying, is because they didn't offer a real use case. They weren't obsessed with supporting real utility, and so when the speculation left, when the excitement over the pure monetary, when we say it was purely speculative investment, what we mean is that everybody involved, everybody investing capital into the space, was looking for short-term gains. Period. The end. So the fact that that the bull market ended and collapsed as extremely as it did not come as a surprise to any of us in the Steem ecosystem.
Right.
We were looking around going, what do these things do? What can you actually do? And then people would criticize the decisions we were all making as a community, as developers, because they weren't sexy. And it all goes back to the fact, and nobody has ever been able to contradict me on this pretty bold claim, which is that we are the only team, we are the only blockchain community that has been fixated on building a blockchain that is capable of powering real web apps at scale from the beginning. We're the only blockchain that has made the hard decisions, not focused on hype, and focused on delivering a real functional protocol that developers like you can use to power their websites and build successful businesses.
Right. I would say that a lot of the hot air that's in a lot of the other coins is the dirty laundry is out in the open with Steem, you know, and it's public. It's on this public blockchain. It's been content based primarily up till now, and so everyone's seen all the bad and the good and everything that's happened. And so actually, I think the Steem price it reflects very, very well what the real market should be showing. And the rest of these coins, they've got very little to show, and they're very, very, very overhyped, potentially, a lot of them. And you'll see this with Steem now. These apps are starting to come out. I have to say, you know, a year and 3 months ago, when Dylan and I first started talking about this company, and we've set it up over the last year, we were doing great in terms of the speculative investments that we make, right? So we were like, oh, we'll set up a company. It's no problem, yeah? But it's obviously been very, very difficult with the crypto winter drop. However, because we're based on the Steem blockchain and the community has stayed on the Steem blockchain, which has amazed us all, I think a lot more people expected a lot more people to leave than actually have done. And the community's really banded together. And it felt like the lower the price has gone, the more stable and solid this community's got together and glued together and worked together. And so as a result, it means that projects like ours have managed to stay afloat on the Steem blockchain. We've managed to use some of the passive gains that we've earned to fund what we've done and keep us afloat. And it's as a result now we've got multiple apps, multiple clients we're onboarding, multiple relationships that we're working on, multiple projects that are actually on the go in the background that are ticking away there and that will slowly start to get released over the next 4 to 6 months kind of thing. And it's just very, very exciting. And I honestly think that there's not many other blockchains where this has happened, where the original teams that stuck around is still there, glued together and still working on the things that they were working on before. And so as a result, going forwards, it gives us extra confidence that, yeah, there's going to be price booms and price drops, right? But that during those price drops, it's going to be easier on the Steem blockchain to survive those big price drops for any business that comes on board because of the community, because of the passive incomes that can be made and the new currency that can be created with the coin to support the projects that you're doing. So it's great, you know. The test has happened, in my opinion. It may go lower, yeah, right. The prices may go low, but I'm confident that many people will survive, and that test has been proven, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that focusing on having apps that people can actually use is a huge long-term competitive advantage, because what it means is that people basically have nowhere else to go. And that's not a privilege that can be abused. But the fact of the matter is that if you want to be using decentralized applications that are powered by blockchains, you have to use Steem. And so while focusing on utility might not be sexy and it might not lead to hype cycles, I do think that it adds that stability where when the hype dies, when the market goes south, there's still all these people using these apps because as a community, we believe in offering real value. And that remains when the price is low, which to me is why low prices have always represented opportunity. And as established players in the space, the low prices I find to be invaluable with respect to ferreting out bad actors. Because that's really one of the hardest things when you're dealing with money. When you're creating money, when you're giving away money, you know, you're giving that money because you expect value to be given in return. And when you're surrounded by vipers, by greedy people, by people who are trying to game the system, it's really hard to figure out who deserves that money and who doesn't. And so these bear markets are incredibly critical towards ferreting out bad actors. And I believe that it's during these bear markets that Steem is going to be able to make the most progress with respect to increasing its ranking in the space and becoming more important, because like you said, these low prices, they kill projects, and Steem is there and Steem survives. And it's about surviving. It's not about hype cycles. It's about building long-term value. And that's what we're focused on. Steem is built to last. It's built to support people who want to build businesses that generate revenue. And if you are generating revenue, you should not really care so much what the price of Steem is. What you want to care about is how much it's going to cost to run your application that is powered by Steem. And with all these other platforms that are computation-based, that are general purpose blockchains, the more successful you are, the more successful the blockchain is, the more expensive it's going to get to run your application, because you're dependent on their coin, which is powering the world's least efficient computer. So we've talked a lot. We've hit a lot of amazing points. I really appreciate you guys covering all of these bases. Before we go, I was wondering if you might highlight some of the important lessons that you've learned from this experience, especially if you have any things that surprised you that you didn't see coming, like, you know, so that we can help entrepreneurs avoid the same pitfalls. And if you have any beliefs that have changed through your operation in this space, things you believed before you came in. It could have been about where you thought your company was going to go, what you were going to do with the company, but after learning certain lessons, you pivoted, you shifted your thoughts, your beliefs based on your experience in the space.
I can see you smiling away there. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I want to say here. The first is, once you get your head around this technology, and it's actually not that difficult, our main thing is, instead of spending and losing, as our clients can hold and create for free, right? You just hold the coin. And when you're done creating, you can sell the coin and get your tokens back, right? No one ever touches your tokens. That's our kind of main business model.
One thing, it's stake to play, not pay to play.
I like that.
Like you can always go back to that. For those people who are trying to wrap their heads around how it works on an economic level, it's that it's stake to play or invest to play, not pay to play. So when you pay, Paying is you lose that money. Staking or investing is that you give up access to it temporarily.
Yes, that's a great way of articulating it, because we were saying the traditional model is spend and lose, right? You spend, you lose, but you get your content. In this one, you can stake and create, right? So I like that, stake to play. I like that. So we'll take that forward as well. But the point is that once you get that model into your mind, it really is paradigm shifting, because it really is the idea that you can hold a coin and create things for nothing. Basically, this coin's going to always be created, and so it's a different way of thinking to the traditional models. It takes people a while to get their head around what that is. But once you do, all of a sudden, it's like, how can we apply this to new things? And Dylan and I are working on, and some of our amazing developers are working on some real groundbreaking technology that it's potentially going to change the world. You know, who knows if it goes viral, if it becomes successful? It doesn't really matter, right? The thing to us is that we're going to make these things available. And so you're talking about the ability to provide free speech. We're working on a project at the moment which will essentially guarantee free speech to people. So it won't be possible for big conglomerates to censor people as they're doing at the moment. And that is something that's possible with blockchain technology. Another one that we're talking to people about, we haven't started working on it yet, but it's running a national election on the Steem blockchain, but not an account vote for vote, but actually just recording the data on the blockchain, so that the data is immutable. And as long as everyone agrees on a consensus level on what that data is and that it's accurate, you can now start recording elections on these blockchains. We're looking at helping.
Which ties back to auditability and the
absolutely, yeah, it's
auditability.
Another one that we're working with is a group of girls who are they're called it's a consortium against violence against women and girls in London. Right, there's 29 charities there. It's a national consortium, and we're working with one of the top people in that team to figure out a way to document a lot of their voluntary work on an app. So it's dead easy. You record it on the blockchain. Anyone who's a stakeholder, or anyone who's an investor or a donator to that consortium can go see this app and very clearly on an immutable blockchain see what they did last week, what they did the week before, who was involved in it, how much work they did, how many kilometers were traveled, how many people were in the meeting, how many hours we used. So you're able to provide this level of transparency to the public, if you so wish, to provide accountability to your operation, to important stakeholders such as the public or such as your investors. And so when you start thinking in this way, there's so many possibilities and applications for this, that the thing that surprised me is I never thought that we'd get involved in all these things, and that now that we've got our heads around this stuff, we're able to actually change the world with some of the tech that we're going to build out. It really is going to change things, and it's very, very exciting, that to me, and that has really blown my mind. In terms of what we've done on the same
so it sounds like you're saying that one of the things that surprised you is the number of things you can get involved in and make work, and the size of the impact that those things are capable of having. It's beyond what you originally expected.
Absolutely.
Way beyond, yeah.
And the thing, working with Dylan as well is great, because he's a real ideas guy. I'm a bit more of the practical, sorry, you can't do this because it's not going to work. So we kind of work well together, because he's the dreamer and I'm the practical person.
Yeah, he's really infuriating.
I have to pull him back sometimes, but it works well, because all of a sudden he's got these really creative ideas, and we sit down together and work out, hold on, can we do this? And it's like, oh my gosh, out of these 10 ideas, there's 2 or 3 of these here that we can start working on, or that we can serve a client with, that we never thought would have been possible before. But as our understanding of this thing develops, and as the technology itself develops as well, because of course things like HiveMind and the Steem engine tokens coming out have meant now that it's almost it's a good problem to have, because now we've got another 6 weeks of idea generation to deal with that we didn't have to deal with before, because this new technology is there all of a sudden, and this development is going on the Steem blockchain. So every few weeks there's a new thing that comes out that we can exploit in terms of applying it in our business models.
One of the things that I think doesn't get a lot of attention on Steem, because it's such a fluid part of the process, but it's the meeting of other people. You guys met through Steem. You guys probably started using Steem. You had through Steemit.com, had probably very few expectations as far as where things were going to go. And then you wound up meeting each other, you wound up talking about ideas, and you wound up starting this company offering all these products, addressing all of these important problems, speaking with all of these awesome people. And that's one of the reasons why my new slogan is that Steem isn't about making you famous, it's about making you friends.
Yeah.
And I totally believe that. You just meet people organically through the platform. And you mentioned Hive Mind, that's going to enable features like communities. And I think that that's really going to turbocharge that effect. Steem could certainly be better about bringing people together like this, but I think Steem is already, I mean, forget blockchains. Nothing is to the stage of development that Steem is in the blockchain world. I think even relative to other platforms like Facebook, if you forget the useless metric of total user base and you focus instead on total value creation, total relationships formed, and the value of those relationships, the productive output of those relationships, when you look at Steem through that lens, it's really crazy how it operates and how it enables people like you to come together and build amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, one example of that, by the way, is that a few months ago, literally as a result of our partnership together, we like to call it a marriage sometimes because it kind of feels like that. It actually feels like we've been married for about 30 years.
That's a pretty great friendship.
Yeah, sometimes. But, you know, we ended up having opportunities that literally very few people ever get to have. So, you know, we suddenly found ourselves halfway around the world in the offices of ministers of state from another country. We found ourselves talking with constitutional lawyers. We found ourselves talking about the opportunities for bringing mass education in STEM, particularly around the blockchain world, to a vast group of people. And that has come about purely through those connections that you were talking about. Now, I don't know about you, but nobody had ever offered me that opportunity before. And we just couldn't turn it down. And it was definitely life-changing, not only in terms of the business, but also, you know, in terms of experiencing another culture that I would never have got to have experienced had it not been for that.
We also came away with a pretty cool MOU from that, from that as well. And the Minister of Commerce was there to witness it. We signed it with the highest education minister in the country. And it's pretty bad. Like, it's amazing these things, and that purely happened because some people who were very, very important in Indonesia were watching some of our work on the Steem blockchains. We're like, hey guys, can you come over and kind of do your thing over here and let us know what you think you can do with Steem over here. And we're currently working with them. It's very, very slow going. It's top level, national level stuff. But it's, you know, they've got elections in the country as well. So there's a little bit of
politics involved, of course.
Politics involved, but it's really cool. We really get involved in top level stuff there. And who knows what comes from that. I mean, we're currently talking to them about an education platform. Again, elections that we mentioned before. So crazy stuff can happen on these blockchains, you know, because it's such new technology. And once you clarify to the layman, to the newbie, what the applications of this is, especially businesses who are like, I know I need to be in blockchain, but I'm not sure what it is and I'm not sure why. Well, if you can set yourself up so you can easily explain the benefits of it to those types of people, and then also act upon it once they say, hey, can we do something together? Then the opportunities here are endless. You know, they really are massive.
Yeah, all you have to do is find your niche. Mm-hmm. And as you fill that niche, people will begin being interested in what you have to say or what you're offering. And I think this ties back into the benefit of being an early adopter to this technology, is, you know, to sum up.
Yeah.
And also why it matters which protocol you choose. Do you want to choose the protocol that is focused on hype and getting the most short-term rewards, getting these booms and busts? Do you want to be an expert in that? Do you think that people are going to want to ask you for your advice, for your products and services, if you're an expert in that? or do you want to be an expert in an ecosystem that's designed to solve real problems for real entrepreneurs? And that's why I think that gets to the heart of why we like to call Steem the blockchain of opportunity, is because there are all of these opportunities just waiting to be taken.
Andrew, one of the things that's blown me away is, we've been to a lot of blockchain events and we've spoken at a lot of events over the last year, and we've spoken with a lot of people, and some of them have heard of Steem, some of them haven't heard of Steem. Very few of them, were really understood it, and it was great to be able to educate them. What was fascinating to us is that when they hear about it, they get it. And they kind of want to come and go, okay, can we do this? Because really our prior knowledge was about Ethereum, and it was about Bitcoin and maybe one or two others. And we're really seeing the vast potential the Steem blockchain offers. And, I got to tell you, when we go to a blockchain show and it's maybe a 2-day show, we literally do not sleep. There are people having conversations with us at 2 a.m. In the bars, and we're still going, and we've spent some time together in Boston, so I know you can attest to that happening.
Absolutely.
And it's quite crazy. People aren't necessarily having those conversations about, hey, can we do this with Bitcoin? Because you kind of know what you can do with Bitcoin, and people don't really yet understand the massive applicational potential that you've got on the Steem blockchain, and it's there to use. We want people to come and use it. There's a massive community that wants to help you develop that. And, literally for most cases, you can pretty much plug and play, and, you can do all sorts with it that you just can't do elsewhere.
Yeah. And if it's not plug and play, it's forking an existing repo and tweaking it to suit your purposes, which is the next best thing.
Yeah.
Plug and play.
I want to just, while you're on that, Andraki, I just want to add here, this recent simplification of Condensed that you guys have done. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because it's probably a little bit beyond my technical understanding, but I see as the kind of person that's looking at doing business on the blockchain, I see the application of that is massive, because if we can get a simplified version of Condenser, which is now available, or I think you guys are in the process of doing, you can bring on a new community in a heartbeat, right? Yeah. We're currently talking to someone about comics, right? They own one of the biggest comic shops in New Jersey, right? Now, comics, people don't think, oh, okay, comics, but comics are collectible items, right? And there's a massive community there. So it's like, can we build these guys a simple interface that they can come and do their comic blogs, and maybe we can give them a few hundred accounts to onboard for free, right? Just instant onboard them, give them an upvote to start them off with, and welcome to the blockchain, and get these communities going, and provide them simplified versions of Condenser with their own front end, their own graphics. Certainly people in the comics industry, they have huge ability to contact artists and things like that there. So you make these things look great. And it's like, when you start thinking like that, so what other communities have got a tight-knit community that might want to come on board? And can we easily take a version of Condenser, which is open source on the blockchain, anyone can go copy it and work out how it works, and then apply it to their own situations? And you can onboard so many communities doing that type of thing. And yeah, it's, again, another application of the Steem blockchain is very, very exciting. Problem that I've got with that is that it just keeps me too bloody busy.
Yeah. Yeah, none of us have a surplus of time in this.
Or sleep. That's for sure.
If you like sleep, if you like having spare time, if you don't like being productive, you totally shouldn't get involved. The points that you made, Dylan, really can be summarized as the difference between an abundance versus a scarcity mindset, and approach to the problem. And what people might not understand if they're new to blockchain and they don't understand technically how it all works on the back end, but Ethereum and Bitcoin are proof of work blockchains.
Right.
Which literally means that there's a scarcity of tokens and you have to use up the tokens in order to do anything. So it's inherently a scarcity approach to solving problems, which is fine, which may prove useful in certain circumstances, but it also doesn't make you want to use the blockchain. There's an inherent conflict in that, it's scarce, it's costly. That's part of what determines the value of the thing, but that's also going to lead to a decrease in economic activity. It's going to lead to an increase in costs. and that's baked in by design. And with the approach that Steem takes, the stake to play approach, it's an abundance mindset. We're all in this together. We're all stakeholders in the same thing. You don't have to give up your money. You don't have to pay. You have to invest in the long term. And then we have to figure out how to work together to make this thing better so that all of our stake increases in value. And that's why we release our software openly. That's why we make our software open source. And so to go into the condenser issue, because maybe that wasn't the best name for it because it sounds confusing and scary, but all it means is that if you go to steemit.com, what you're looking at is the software condenser. You can look at the code on GitHub, and all that code is powering everything you see on steemit.com, which looks mostly like a social network. And so if you fork condenser, what you immediately have is not just a fully functioning social network application, but you also have it automatically tied into the Steem blockchain, because all of that code, all of those APIs are in that code base. Yep. So you just change what it looks like and boom, you've got a social network. Now, what we're doing now at Steemit, for security reasons, for cost reduction reasons, and there's many other benefits. We always make our decisions based on, priorities and then additional benefits and additional wins. So we're separating out the social functionalities into one app, and the wallet, the economic activities, into another app that are going to tie into one another seamlessly. So after this process is done, say you want all of the features, it's not a problem. You fork both repos and boom, you've got a fully functioning social application with the economic features, the wallet features tied into one another. Both of the applications will actually consume fewer resources on your servers and on your client side on their computers. So that's a win. And both are more secure because they can be iterated upon without impacting one another. So security can be increased in the wallet application without affecting the user experience in the social application.
Right.
The benefit you guys referred to is that now, say you're a social app developer, you only want the social functionalities.
Absolutely.
You fork social condenser, which will probably be released in the next couple of weeks. We just released the wallet application of condenser. That's a standalone app. We're still.
Yeah, I saw it today. I was playing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so right now, Steemit.com is still powered by a full version of condenser, but that'll change in the coming weeks. And once that happens, you'll be able to fork the social version of condenser. If you just want to build a social application, you don't want to get your hands dirty dealing with the security complexities of building a blockchain application. But that being said, if you do want those economic features, then you just fork the wallet app too, and you're done there too. And you're piggybacking off of all of the work that we've done. And so while it wasn't really our primary intention, our primary intention was reducing the cost of running the apps. And then a secondary intention was enabling us to iterate our applications at a faster rate. Because we're breaking them apart, we can upgrade social features faster. So we want to make steemit.com faster over time. And the way that we make our decisions, and I've been super impressed by how the team operates and how it weighs its decision making, even though those were our primary focuses, those always have these additional benefits, because if we're trying to make steemit.com better, because it's open source software, everybody benefits. And that goes back to this abundance mindset, this stake to play economics that impacts everything that we do in this space.
Right.
It's awesome. It's really awesome, honestly, because now when I'm talking, I don't even have to worry about talking to potential clients. You can just go talk to people with communities. People have tight-knit communities that would benefit from being able to reward their customers. So, for example, Google Plus, I understand, is shutting down in the near future. There's so many communities on there that we could go target and say, do you want us to build a simplified app for you that you guys can easily access? You can write your blogs, you can go review your colleagues' blogs and upvote them. If you want to onboard with us, we might be able to stake you some of our votes. We can have a curator that sits on there and upvotes the best content. And all of a sudden you have this very easy onboarding mechanism to bring whole communities onto the Steem blockchain now through this. It's massive. That's fantastic news. And I'm very excited to see how we can apply that if I can manage to squeeze a little bit more time out of Dylan's team.
The last thing I'd like to say is there's a ton of things that you can do with Steem. There's a ton of applications that you can both use and you can develop on there. And all you really ever need to do is just hold Steem. And you've got access to this.
I want to mention one other thing, the Steem Business Alliance. We've realized that, so as companies like Oracle D are becoming more and more busy, we're slowly starting to scale, but we're getting more work than we can handle really in terms of dealing with new clients. So one of the things that we kind of mentioned at the last Steem Fest in November was bringing some of the major projects together to serve new businesses, to onboard new businesses onto the blockchain and help them to understand what it is, B, to understand what the business models are, and C, to get resources to help them build their apps and their dApps and their business and Steem into their businesses. And so the Steem Business Alliance is something we're just about we've basically released it already. We've got our first blog out there. It's at SteemBA. We're about to release our website in the next week or two. We have our governance structure in place now, and we're basically starting to bring in some of the biggest, most important business projects on the Steem blockchain. And it's all about how do we serve the community to bring in more businesses to the Steem blockchain and efficiently onboard them to the blockchain so that they can tap into the Steem community, get value from it. And as a result, a lot of the minnows and other users on the Steem blockchain will benefit because there'll be an influx of capital. There'll be new projects set up on the blockchain that they can benefit from and use. And so Steem Business Alliance is something that we're trying to work towards with multiple of the large projects on the Steem blockchain to bring credibility to business and try a place for it to come to. So if anyone wants to bring their business to Steem, come to the Steem Business Alliance, and we will do our very utmost best to bring you onto Steem and serve you in the best way possible, so that you can have a nice seamless interface into the Steem blockchain with your business.
And finally for me, if you're not on the Steem blockchain and you want to get on the Steem blockchain, go to steem.ninja. And you can be on the blockchain quicker than you can possibly imagine.
And I know you guys are doing a lot to try to keep the Steem Business Alliance decentralized and auditable organization, so that when those businesses do come in, they'll be able to know exactly who they're dealing with,
yes,
what you guys are trying to do. You're not one organization, you're multiple organizations all
yes,
working together to try to add value to new companies coming into the ecosystem. And
yes,
I think that's great.
Something that we're doing there, we're a small team initially of 5 of the major projects on Steem. And we're basically setting out the initial guidelines for governance and for structure of how it's going to work and how people are going to be rewarded to be incentivized to contribute to the whole thing. But once we have that done, we're only doing that as a small team because it's easy to make those decisions initially. But what we will then do is open it up to people and start bringing bona fide, credible businesses that are operating on the Steem blockchain in, and also businesses that are outside the Steem blockchain who want to come in to kind of have a place where they can amalgamate together and learn from each other. And that will then, as you contribute as a business, you will receive some reward in terms of either a token or a share of the Steem Business Alliance, and then you'll have voting rights based on how much of that token you hold. So very similar to the Steem distribution method, but specifically for projects and businesses on the Steem blockchain.
I want to thank you guys for doing this interview. It was great stuff. It was really, really interesting stuff. I think it'll be super helpful for people, specifically entrepreneurs who are looking to get into the space. And just thanks again for everything you're doing for the Steem ecosystem. OracleD.com, steem.ninja. Check out everything these guys are doing.
Yeah.
Thanks
awesome.
very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Cheers, Andraki.
Thanks so much for watching my interview. But if you've got one more second, I'd love to tell you about Steemit.com's new paid advertising program. Steemit.com is the central hub for all things blockchain and cryptocurrency, which is why it gets 18 million unique page views a month. Best of all, it's entirely open source, so advertising not only benefits your bottom line, but it also helps us continue to release free software that's empowering people all over the world by monetizing their content through blockchain technology. That's why, unlike any other advertising platform, our users actually support our paid advertising program. To learn more about advertising on Steemit.com, email advertising@steemit.com.